Welcome to the live stream this week. So for those of you who are new to the stream or just watching this video online, my name is Wayne Aker. I am a longtime Drupal developer and trainer at DrupalTutor.com, where I offer online training courses for all levels, from intro to module development and theme development. And this live stream is me building a new DrupalTutor.com website, which is what I use to deliver these training courses. So this isn't a course per se, but it is more like a case study in building a complex site on Drupal. These live streams run every week, and if you're interested in knowing what I'm going to do on the live stream each week, I send out an email every Monday with the general topics of what we'll be doing. So you can sign up for the email list at DrupalTutor.com/live. And so let's see, we got, looks like we got at least 6 people or something on. Hi, Costas. All right, so last week we built the site. We started out with a new site. We created with Composer. We installed some common development modules. We set up config split to keep our development settings separate. And then towards the end, we started setting up the content types. So we just did the blog content type, which was like the simplest one last week. And so this week, I'm going to continue with that, going through and setting up I think we should be able to get through most of the content types and media types and taxonomy types today. And then we'll have sort of the foundational data and everything that we need. And then we'll be able to go on to some of the custom entity types and other, and the theme and whatnot, other things like that. All right, so I'm going to switch to my desktop here. Last week, we did look at this document. This is the technical specification document for the project. So this is where I describe all of the content types and other entity types that we're going to be creating on the site. And so I lay all that out. And so I list the types of fields that we'll have on each content type, and as well as what type of field that is. I also describe the widget that we'll be using and some other settings there. So like I said, last week we did the blog content type, and I think we created a sample blog post. Yeah, we created a test blog post and it worked. So that's where we left off last week. Oh, I should say before I get into it, anyone who has questions as we go through any of this, feel free to use the comment feature on either Twitch or YouTube. It does come through to the software here, so I will answer it if I see something come through. Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of these content types and media types and taxonomy vocabularies today, and I will describe what they're used for, why I'm building them certain ways. Some of these are changing from how I am doing them now into what I'm doing on the new site. And so I will, I don't know, you might be interested in why I've decided to make that change. It might give you some insight. So I think I'm going to start with the taxonomy vocabularies, just because we have a bunch of other fields that will reference the taxonomy vocabularies, and it's going to be annoying to do them in the opposite order. So if we get all the taxonomy vocabularies created first, then we can go through and create the fields more quickly. So let's take a look. Okay, so oops, let me blow this up so you can read it. Okay, so the first taxonomy vocabulary we'll create is project. Now, project is on the current site. I have something, and it's not really linked anymore because I've kind of abandoned the concept of it. But at one point, I was building out this thing called a knowledge base, where I have like tutorials that aren't mine. They're just like other people's tutorials. They're linked in here. And I actually have quite a collection of tutorials here. And they're tagged by the actual Drupal modules that they're about. So it's possible, for example, to go, like if you go to paragraphs, we have to actually go to, let's see. Well, paragraph might be a bad example, but I can probably manipulate the URL here. If you go to like the paragraphs page, you can see like these are all the tutorials about paragraphs that I have indexed in the system. So I kind of abandoned this. I'm still putting tutorials in the system because I use that. I tweet them out on the DrupalTutor Twitter feed, and I put them on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you follow the DrupalTutor on any of those, you will occasionally get new tutorials pushed out through those channels. And so I'm still kind of using this, but I don't really, the main problem is I used to ingest all of the new modules, and that script got problematic, and it was just a pain to manage. And so I don't really want to do that anymore. And I want to make this less Drupal specific. I mentioned that last week. And so the project taxonomy term, I'm still going to keep it around because I still like the idea. Maybe I'll come back to that knowledge base at some point. But I do like the idea of at least tagging certain videos or other posts by particular modules that they're about, or and I don't want to lose what I've already done with the knowledge base. And also, but I don't want it to be Drupal specific. So I want to expand the concept of what those projects might be. They might be a website like GitHub. They might be Composer. They might be something else that's not Drupal specific. So that's what this is designed to do. This it is currently a taxonomy type in the current site, and in the new site, it's the reason I'm going to stick with taxonomy here is because I kind of want it to be hierarchical. That's one of the main reasons why. Because at one point I thought I might make this a content type, but the hierarchicalness of taxonomy terms is something that I could use, because like there could be Drupal and then modules, and then all the Drupal modules could be under that. So if I wanted, then if it's like tutorials about Drupal, that could include everything about all the modules if I had some kind of search for that. So I'm going to keep it. So that hierarchical feature is going to be useful, and that hierarchical feature is the main reason I'm going to choose the taxonomy term for this. Otherwise, I could create, there's no real difference. You put it in the database, it's a record in the database, whether it's a node or a taxonomy term. But hierarchy is one specific thing that taxonomy terms have built in, and I can use that. So I'm going to make it a taxonomy term. Okay, so, this is an example where we can't do this one first because I actually have project type, which is this. Actually, I don't even know if I need project type. I might keep it around. Project type was currently used for classifying whether something was a Drupal module or if it was like a JavaScript library or as a website like GitHub. And not if now that I have this more general concept for project, maybe it's not necessary, but let's go ahead and build it. All right, so project type doesn't need anything special. So let's start on that. So I'll add a vocabulary, project type. And that's pretty much it. I will add something here just so I have some value if I want to test filling out this field. So, okay, so now I have a project type vocabulary with only the one term in it, Drupal module. So now I can go back and create project. So I have 3 additional fields that this needs: the project type to link it to the other vocabulary I just created, a URL for like, the module page or whatever, the project's homepage, and then a thumbnail, which did show up in those in that knowledge base page I just showed, although I don't think I ever actually used the thumbnail on the current site, but I'm going to go ahead and create that. And that's supposed to be an image, but not required. Okay. So another taxonomy type called project. It needs an entity reference to a taxonomy term called project type. Checking the machine name to make sure it matches what I said it would be. So I said 1, but actually maybe it could be more than 1. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to switch this. Like maybe there could be a project that's more than 1. So let's go ahead and allow it to be unlimited for now. And I did say this was going to be a required field. Needs to be from the project type to vocabulary. Okay. And next, URL. So this will be a link type field. This one, I think, I suppose it could be more than 1, but I think I'll just leave it with 1 for now. If we had more than 1, then there would have to be a way, then you'd have to turn on like, does this have the title? Yeah, this has, you could use the link text to differentiate like home page versus GitHub page or something like that. But I don't think I'm not even 100% sure how I'm going to use this yet. So I'm not going to get too far into that. I'm just going to disable the text and we'll just say it has 1 URL. I don't even know if it should be required. Did I say it was going to be required? Yes. Okay. So we'll make it required. All right, next is thumbnail. That's an image. Not required. This files directory, I should give it something like maybe projects or project thumbnails. The default's kind of weird because it's just date based. So like you get if you just stick with the default, you would get like all different kinds of images in those directories together. It is important, by the way, though, the reason why they have dates there, if you have a big site that has a lot of files, if you upload them all to the same directory, especially if this happens on Pantheon, this is definitely a problem on Pantheon. But I've seen it actually even on regular servers. if you have too many files in a directory, your site will, at some point, it hits like a max number of file things and it just slows to a crawl. There's something about with any sort of file operations. So you definitely shouldn't just have one with everything going into it, because eventually if you get to 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000, I don't know exactly where the limit is, and it may be different per file system, it will cause problems. I'm not going to worry about all the image resolution and stuff, because I'm the only one who's ever going to be putting stuff into this probably. All right, so, okay, parent terms is already built in. Oh, I do have this migration ID. I should add that. Which I think I'm just using an integer for that. That's just an extra way to track. I mean, I am going to use the migration system probably to pull these over, but this is just an extra way to track that number in case I need it programmatically or something. Okay, yep, that matches. And this definitely shouldn't be required because anything I put in by hand won't have a migration ID. Yeah, okay, so that's that. Let's go back here. We can add an example like paragraphs. Wait, oh, maybe I need to manage form display to put those. Wait, where were the other? Oh, they're down here below the save button, which is not useful. Okay, so I'm going to pull these up. URL. Okay, so now they're all above the fold, above the buttons. Okay, project type. This will be a Drupal module. URL is and I don't have a thumbnail for now. We'll just leave it. Okay, so now we have the ability to create this project taxonomy term. Oh, actually, I didn't even think about this, but there is actually an RSS feed that's already built in. I mean, I would probably customize this anyway, but like if you wanted an RSS feed of all new paragraphs, tutorials, it's actually already sort of built into this page, which is kind of nice. Although, again, I'm probably going to eventually style this page differently or hide it. Yeah, we'll do that on the next one. So the next one is supported version. So this I use for, currently it's Drupal specific. I have some fields like which Drupal version does this tutorial, if it's in the knowledge base, or if it's a video, if it's a course, they're also tagged like, is it Drupal 7, Drupal 8, Drupal 9? And it can be, it's checkboxes, so it could be more than one. I want to make that more generalized, so it could be PHP version, etc. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, the hierarchy, I'm going to use the hierarchy. So there could be like Drupal, and that'd be like Drupal 8, Drupal 9, Drupal 10, and then PHP 7.4, PHP 8, whatever. And it could, that way I could specify that a course is compatible with all these versions, because the Drupal releases are coming out so fast, I can't make new courses for every one. I used to make new courses for Drupal 7, Drupal 8, but like Drupal 9's out, and then Drupal 10 is going to be on June. So like I can't really, there's not really enough time to make new courses for Drupal 9. And that's just going to keep happening. Drupal 11 is supposed to be out 2 years later than that, and Drupal 12 is like 2 years after that. So there's not like a ton of time. So it needs to be a more continuous flow where the courses are compatible with multiple versions. So that's what this is. That's what this supported version is for. And I don't think I have any, I don't need any special things here. Let's just add like a couple examples in here, like Drupal, because this does not actually exist on the current site at all. So this isn't something we can migrate because there's other fields that those Drupal specific ones are just fields like a list text field. So like Drupal 9. Oh, and I forgot to put it under there, but yeah. Okay, so we'll put it under there. So that's how it's going to work. All right, next taxonomy. Purpose. What did I've actually forgotten why I put this in here. This is new. Why did I put this in here? Oh, I think, yeah, it's for images or for media items. So like, for example, I'm going to eventually be creating a paragraph type for like displaying logos, like, you know, people from these companies took courses here at DrupalTutor and had like the logos of the places. Those logos will be media entities, but I want to be able to tag them as like customer logos so that when I search in like the media library, I can only look at the customer logos without like every other media item coming up. So that's what purpose is for. It's some kind of designation of why is this media item, what's the purpose of this media item on the site? So again, it doesn't have any special fields. It's really just a way to tag it to search better in the media library. Because the media library, when we get to that point, it's configurable as a view, so we can add additional exposed filters, and it's really we can customize that, so we'll be able to search for like just images that are customer logos. Okay, and one example, like I said, that I know is like customer logos. Or I guess I should say maybe customer logo, because it'll be the purpose of this particular item. All right. Okay, meeting type is the next one. All right, so this gets a little bit complicated, and we'll eventually get to this in more detail when we get into the custom code around scheduling the live sessions that come with every course. So if you're not familiar with DrupalTutor courses, they're online recorded video, but every week I also have Zoom meetings where you can ask me whatever questions that you want. Those Zoom meetings get created automatically. I have a small library that talks to the Zoom API, and when I create them in the system, it automatically creates the Zoom meeting and then puts the link in the Drupal site. And also I have, and then those records, those webinar records in the Drupal system need to be associated with the courses that people are taking. So this meeting type is how that's done, because occasionally I will have like people do private classes, and we might have like we're going to have like, 4 meetings over 2 weeks just with them. And they're still going to watch the regular videos, but I'm having like private webinars with them. And so I need a way to specify this webinar is for like this group of people, this webinar is for like these classes, and this webinar is for that classes. That's what meeting type does. So this is webinar, meeting type. This course session has a meeting type that links them together. That's what causes it to show up on that course page. So for the most part, the webinars for the public classes like it's every course comes to the same webinar right now, but I do have these other cases where occasionally where there's private ones. So, yeah, so we don't, oh, this is just a regular taxonomy. It doesn't require any extra fields. And we'll migrate in the actual values when we get to migration. I don't remember the exact wording I have. It's like live question and answer session or something. I think is the one that I use for most of them, but when we do the migration piece, then we'll do that. Okay, so that's all the taxonomy types. So I think now we can go back and do some of these other content types. Oh, wait. I wanted to do one other thing. Some of these taxonomy types should not be viewed publicly, like meeting type. There's no reason why the public should ever see that. Even when you're logged into a course, you can't really see that. You just see the webinars that are tagged a certain way. Purpose shouldn't be seen, and supported versions shouldn't be seen. So by default, Drupal's going to make those available. Like there's going to be a page for every term. And we could set permissions or something to sort of try to hide particular terms or write some custom code, but there's an easier way to I just want to put this all away. And that is to use the rabbit hole module. The rabbit hole module allows you to hide particular entities by their bundle, and just if you need that data in there but you don't want people to see it, this is what you use. So let's put this module in here. Composer require Drupal rabbit hole Russian. Actually, rabbit hole has a bunch of submodules, so I better do it through the interface. Okay, so we have rabbit hole. I don't know if we're going to need the rabbit hole media entities. I'm going to go ahead and check it for now. But basically, you rabbit hole like any of the. You can rabbit hole any by entity type, basically. Probably rabbit hole should be for users too. So I'll go ahead and turn on all those modules. Because we don't have any sort of public profiles. Even within your course, you can't really see who else is taking the course or anything. All right, so now we can go back to the taxonomy, vocabularies. Okay, so meeting type, if I edit this, there's now rabbit hole settings. Let's see, so I want this to be page not found. And I mean, project type could be, yeah, actually project type should be. I don't think anybody should be looking at project type either. I mean, this is easy to change later, so. Purpose definitely should be hidden. The full page view anyway. That's the nice thing, because actually if you use permissions or whatever, it will completely hide that term or that vocabulary's terms, but you may want to show those terms to people. You just don't want them to have a full page view. That's what rabbit hole does. That's a little clearer explanation than what I gave a minute ago. Okay, so supported version also needs rabbit hole. All right. Okay, so going through these kinds of types, the next one is discussion. So if you've taken a course at DrupalTutor, then you know that there is a discussion forum under like your class page where you can post discussions. They currently are implemented as a custom entity, which is totally unnecessary. When I first built the Drupal 8 site, I wanted to figure out how to do custom entities in Drupal 8, and so I kind of went overboard with the custom entities and did them a bit too much. Discussion is probably one of those that it could be a content type. Now we have to be careful about the permissions around discussions, because we don't want, they should only be shown, because it has people's names and stuff on it, should only be shown, it might have information about the dev stack or something, like their login or some kind of thing. So it should only be shown like to that class in that sort of area. It shouldn't be public, but it doesn't have to be, it can be a node, because it is kind of like content. We don't ever see it on a full page view. It's in like a sort of a forum list, but yeah, it should be I think a content type is fine for this. Now I did create a feature a while back, which has been not well used, though it is kind of cool when it works, where you can add a video. Like, unfortunately, the way it is now is I say, do you want to create a text discussion or a video discussion? And it's like a binary choice. I want to get rid of that because I think that's what's stopping people. But sometimes people would like to show me what the problem they're having is. And so I have this service that I bought like some kind of lifetime deal too, because they were like a startup that just started called Zigio. And it allows you to, it creates a little, it's an embedded widget that you can put in your site with like embed code. And then it's basically a video recorder. You can record your face if you want, but you can also record your screen. And then it sends it up to Zigio. And then there's like an API where you can pull that video back down. So it does work actually on the site now, but I would like to improve it. So my idea is that there's just going to be one type. You can write some text, and then if you want to put a video, there's like an option to do a video. And one thing I would like to do right now, that video I think is not a media item. It's not a media entity. And so I'd like to switch that to being a media entity. So that's what we're going to do here. That's why this has like a title, body, and then it has an entity reference to a media for the video. Eventually, we're going to have to customize the form so that uses Zigio and does everything in the background. Also, all the discussions are tagged by course session, because they only show up in the course, like in the one session that you are in. And they also have a parent because they're not threaded. Well, they're sort of threaded. They're threaded like at one level. So once you can start a new discussion, you can have replies to that. They're not threaded within it, but you can reply within that one top level thread. So that's why we have this entity reference to a node. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and create the content type for it. There will be a lot of customization around that, around the form, because I don't want people using the standard node form for that. But we'll come back and do that later. But let's just get the data model in here. I don't really use these other, we're not really using these other features, but in this case, I think I should rabbit hole the full page view because it's never intended to be seen on a full page view. So I'm going to go ahead and rabbit hole it because it's seen sort of in the context of the list, the full list of posts. So that's title and body. I need a video media link. I think I'm going to have to create. Yeah, I don't have any media types yet, so let's create a media type. For video. And this case, let's see, it's not going to be a remote video. It's going to be a video file because the way Zigio works, they don't host it for you indefinitely. They host it for you for some temporary time. You have to download it. So this is going to be, I'll just call this one video. I'll make another one. We will have remote videos because I am going to use media entities for the class videos, and the class videos are all hosted on Vimeo. So they are remote videos, but I'm going to create those as two different media types. I think I have that specified here, probably. Yeah, I have remote video. Oh, it looks like I didn't specify the video one, but we're going to need both because I forgot maybe about the Zigio thing here. So I don't think we'll need this mapping thing. And any videos like this should not be seen on a full page view, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and rabbit hole them. Because again, they're seen like in context of like they're embedded in something. So, all right, now I can come back here. Let's create a media reference to video. Is that what I wanted to call it? Oh, field discussion video. Well, we'll call it video there, but I want just so it's, I'd like to have a separate field for this. So because I'm going to be integrating with this Zigio thing and there might be other settings I need to, I want to keep this field distinct and not reuse it on other content types where I might screw up the settings that I need for the Zigio thing. So the Zigio integration. So I'm going to call it field discussion video for the machine name. Yeah, I think it's just one. I don't think there's ever more. There would ever be more than one. Okay, and it's got to be of a video type. Doesn't matter about the defaults. We're going to have to customize the whole form for that. Okay, so I need course session and parent. So let's see. Oh, I can't do course session yet because I don't have a course session entity type, and I'm not going to create that now because that one is going to be a custom entity type. So we're going to skip that one for now. We can go ahead and create the parent. This is for the threading purposes. So this is a link to another discussion. And again, this might make sense to keep it specific because nothing else has a parent, right? But yeah, I'm just to make sure, I'm going to keep the machine name. I'm going to put discussion in there. So it's clear that it's only for discussions. And it should link only to discussions. And again, this is going to be a totally custom field, so we're not going to worry about how the form looks. And I want to put that migration ID in here because there are discussions which I'd like to pull over in migration. And in that case, like this won't that my ID, and this is the reason to keep this as a number, is just that ID will actually be a discussion ID, discussion entity ID from the other system because it's not a node over there. All right, so I think that's it for this one. Okay, lesson. This is another one that is currently a custom entity, and I'm going to switch to using just a content type for. So I should explain a little bit about how the LMS sort of features work on the site. So there are entities called courses. These are custom entities. A course is not like the class that starts today, February 2nd. A course is like building websites with Drupal 8 or Drupal 8 and 9. it describes the entire course, and under that there can be many sessions of that course. Such the session would be the session that starts February 2nd and goes for the next 29 days. Within both the course and the course session, there's another entity that those are linked to called lesson schedules. Lesson schedules say this lesson starts like 7 days after the course begins and goes until 14 days. That's what actually, like if you look at like a lesson, a page, if I pull one up, like from the current site, if I got register for something. That's what puts like these dates on here. Is that lesson schedule. And that lesson schedule says lesson number 1 is to be displayed from day 0 to day 7, as that's its current dates. And this one goes from 7 to 14. This one goes from 14 to 21, etc. So the thing is the sessions and the courses don't directly link to lessons. Lessons are currently the only thing they can display, but I actually want to potentially open that up. And so because I might be adding like quizzes or some other things, like I don't currently do quizzes, but I'm thinking about adding quizzes. Because a lot of the people who are taking the course now, there's a lot of people who are like government employees or enterprise employees who need I need a certificate or something that says they took it because they have to prove to their boss who paid for it that they did it. And, or they have they're required to take X amount of training per year. And so they can use this to count towards that, but they have to have this certificate to prove it. And currently I do offer those, but you have to just watch all the videos to 100%. It would be nice to have like quizzes and things in there. That is a feature that those type of courses that people take for those reasons have. They have quizzes that you have to pass at 80% to get the certificate. So I'm thinking about adding those. So anyway, this lesson schedule needs to be able to link to different types of content, and lesson is only one of those things. That's my idea anyway. So I think that it's okay to bring lesson out as just a content type, and it will be a lesson is basically a collection of videos. So if I go back to the lesson tab, a lesson is, so content is actually going to be a link. And actually, I'm going to call it a dynamic entity reference because maybe I will link to videos, maybe I will link to a quiz. But it's basically a lesson is a list of all of these things, these videos and quizzes in a sequential form. But it has no dates associated with it. It's not associated with any courses. That gets done by the lesson schedule, which says this happens this time, this time, this time. And again, that's partially because I want to be able to do those private classes where sometimes we're on an accelerated schedule. And I'd like to say, instead of you have all week for this lesson, you have 3 days and then next 3 days for the next lesson. And by decoupling lessons from lesson schedules, it allows me to do that. So lessons are basically the container for a week's worth of videos in the standard course that I do. So it contains all this. However, I'm viewing this through a lesson schedule because that's what connected it to this particular session. All right, so we got content, which is going to be a dynamic entity reference. For those of you who may not have seen a dynamic entity reference before, this is an entity reference that it doesn't have to be just one type. It doesn't have to be like just nodes or just media. And I was thinking about quizzes in this case, because everything now is a video. But in the future, if I want to do quizzes, there is a quiz module for Drupal, but it has its own custom entity type. So by using a dynamic entity reference, I would be able to extend the concept of content so that it could be media or quizzes or something else. it doesn't have to be all the same entity type. So that's why I have this. Lesson notes are like the notes that show up like down here. Assignment, this is, again, there's something I have for every course, every lesson. There's some assignment that you can do. The teaser is like the little text that shows up over here. This little text. And attachments are just downloads that I may need to have for that particular lesson. And then the is public, I'm not 100% sure if this one is necessary anymore. I may have a different way of doing this, but I do, at one point I have some, actually right now I even have some example lessons. Like if you go to any of the course description pages, you can click on it and there's like one lesson that has like one video in it and you can just see what a lesson page looks like and listen to me talk and hear what that's like. I think I'm going to switch. I created something. It's only active on the building websites of Drupal 8 and 9 course right now, where there's a free preview instead of where you can basically just, you can put in your email address and it registers you for like the first hour of the course. It's a different course that's doesn't have all the other videos. It only has the first hour, so you can watch that for free. You get access to the dev stack. You only can do it for like 7 days. You can try it out, and then if you want to buy the full course, you can buy the full course. So I think I'm going to go with that model more. So I don't necessarily know if I need this as public. Maybe I'll leave it out for now because I'm not entirely sure if we're really going to need it. Okay, so let's build this out. The one thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to install dynamic entity reference because we don't have that module yet. And I can't remember if this has submodules, so let's just take a look. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so let's create a lesson content type. Don't need to display author. I mean, we're going to be overwriting all these templates, so probably it doesn't matter, but we don't want any of that. It's not going to be in the menu. And all these like default settings, like promoted to the front page and stuff, this is part of why I didn't make them. I didn't make them content types before because I got all this stuff I don't need. But I think I'm just going to, I think like maybe I went too far last time, but the custom content types, it becomes kind of a pain. Like when we had to go to Drupal 9, there were several things that had to be updated and I had to fix all my custom content types. For like I think it added like there was something about the revision log or something. I had to change up some things about that. They changed something about the fields and you had to either not include it or include it. I can't remember. There's something different about the annotation. So I had to go do that on all of them and fix a bunch of them. So I'm trying to limit the number of custom entity types this time. Okay, so we've got title. Actually, we don't need body, right? Yeah, we can get rid of body. So let's delete that. And we need a dynamic entity reference. Oh, here, dynamic reference. Oh, that's interesting because it says dynamic reference and then it says content. I haven't used this module in a while. Well, let's start with media because I thought the whole point of a dynamic reference would be that it accepts multiple entity types. And it's supposed to be field content. Yeah, okay, so it does. It just, this is the one that's checked by default. So for now, we only need it to do media, so I can leave that. It definitely needs to be unlimited. It's It's not a required field only because I don't know. Like I might create some lesson and I don't necessarily want to have content before I save it. Okay, so yeah, there's that. One thing I will say, I was looking today, and there is a way to use the entity browser module with dynamic entity reference. I wasn't really looking at it with respect to this project. It was another project I'm working on. But now that I think about it, that might be really nice to use on this project as well. So the entity browser, if you haven't used it, it basically has a pop-up and it's a configurable sort of, it's like the media library, but it works on other entities other than media. So, and there's a patch for it that makes it work with dynamic entity references, so you can search across different types of entities and sort of link them in there. And it's a nicer sort of form element for doing this, other than like an autocomplete. So at some point we might come back and add that. All right, so lesson notes is a long text formatted. There's only, wait a second. Did I just do a text? Yeah, I picked the wrong one. Hold on. Should be text formatted long. Assignment is also the same thing. Let's see, we got teaser. Same thing. And downloads is going to be an entity reference to documents of some kind. So we need to create that content type, or sorry, that media type rather, because it's going to be an entity reference to a media. So what did I say I was going to call it? Document. Yeah, document. And these actually aren't media on the current site, mainly because the whole media thing in core didn't really exist. Well, it did exist, but it was like experimental in Drupal 8 initially when I built the current DrupalTutor site. So I'm just using files, the regular file stuff, but I'd like to convert that over to media. So in this case, it's just going to be a file type. And I think we want to create a new one because it's not exactly a media file. It may have different properties on it. These probably should not be seen on their own, so I'll rabbit hole them. Okay, so now I've got that document. This was called what? And so I can go back to the field. I called it downloads, although okay. And then I called the machine name attachments. I'm not sure, but okay. So reference to media. We'll follow the TSD. Downloads, but this is called attachments. Unlimited. And should be, probably we only need like this for documents. Which documents are going to be, most of the time these are zip files because you're downloading like a bunch, or occasionally like an HTML file or something like that because you're trying to copy something. Or I'm giving you like a bunch of images for your theme or something like that. Okay. And I've got meta tags on here, but actually I don't think I need meta tags if this isn't going to be public. And so I'm holding off on that. So let's just hold off on that. One thing I will do is I will add the migration ID, which we already have the field. I just have to reuse it. Okay. And I think that's it for lesson. Okay, page. Page is just a basic page, just like a landing page, like the home page, or won't be a course page, because a course page will actually be related to that course custom entity. But there are some other landing pages that I have for, like if you click on Google AdWords, there's a special page you go to that, says why you should buy my course and not somebody else's. So pages like that. So we'll call this page. We don't want to display this. They might go into menus. We definitely don't want to rabbit hole them all. All right. And for this, I'm going to use layout paragraphs, which we played around with a little bit last week when we looked at blog. So I already have a field paragraphs. I believe that I can safely reuse that. I won't need the body, so let's delete that, because we're going to use paragraphs instead. And I'm not going to make it a required field, because if I want to save an empty page for some reason, I'm going to allow myself to do that. I will go ahead and set this. I didn't do the managed form displays on the other ones. When we get into those a little bit more of how they're going to use, we'll mess with the form displays. But okay, this is already set to layout paragraphs, probably because I reused it, so that's good. Downloads, we can reuse that field. The attachments. I don't know if I have any pages that actually have downloads, but it's possible they could. Oh, this is actually from another project. Those don't belong in here. Those are from the project that I previously used this TSD template from, and it just stuck in there. I forgot to delete it. Okay, so I think that's all we need, other than we should add the meta tags field, because meta tags will be really important for these. We want them to be Google indexed well. So we can reuse the meta tags field that we already have. Okay, and migration ID. Although I don't even know if there are any pages that I would actually migrate. There's only a handful of them. I'll probably just do them by hand, but I'll go ahead and put this in here. Okay, next is a review. So review is maybe slightly misnomer. It's really more like a testimonial, like a little bit, but like I do, after every course is over, there's like a feedback form, and there's an option that you can put a testimonial and rate the course. And when you do rate the course, then right now I manually copy that over into, and this is a custom entity currently, into a review entity that just basically keeps track of the number, 9 of 10 or whatever. I don't show them as like stars or anything on the pages currently, but there is some markup in there that used to work, and it would make like stars show up in Google. Like sometimes you see that in the Google search results. It doesn't really work anymore. I've noticed that Google is much more restrictive about what they show that on now. They used to be like, if you were just savvy and knew the right markup, you could get that on there, and then your search engine thing, your result looked awesome because it had this thing that really drew your attention with those stars. And you could just make them up if you wanted. I'm not suggesting people should do that, but you could. But anyway, I store this here. I also store, if people do rate a testimonial, I store that in here. as a text field, and then I can use that on other pages like the course pages. So, so that is what a review stores. So what I store is the name of the person who wrote it, their job title, because I think that's nice to show people, because like, you know, when people think, is this course for me? Hey, here's somebody with the same title as me or similar title and they took the course. Review is if somebody writes out the text. Rating would be the numeric rating. Weight, sometimes I have like testimonials shown in a list. And so I want like the good ones to be at the beginning. So the weight allows me to adjust that. And the course, this is every review or rating is about a particular course. I don't tie it to a specific session because that doesn't really matter. The sessions are mostly the same for every course. So it's really tied to the course. So I won't be able to do this one yet because I don't have the course entity, but I can go ahead and create these other fields. So we have a review. These should be rabbit hole because they only get displayed like they're going to be displayed as paragraphs, you know, when I choose to put them on a page. So they're not really intended to be seen on their own. Okay, so I'm not using the body. Again, I'm going to segment off these fields because we are going to be writing some custom code, I think, around these potentially. So I am going to, let's see. Okay, so we have like review. And I said that this was going to be review text is the machine name. And there was a regular short text that doesn't need to be formatted, just plain text for job title, which I said review job. Oh, and one thing I forgot to do was over here, the title field is actually it's not supposed to be called title. It's supposed to be called name. So you can do that on the edit form. So I'll change that to name so that we have name, job title, text, the rating, the weight. Okay. So those are both integers. I should put a default weight in here just so everything that I add will have something. So I guess I'll use the default weight of 0. And I will make this required. So you got to put something in there. Okay, so that's all I can do because I can't do the course yet. I will add the migration ID. All right, next is the tutorial. I talked a lot about the tutorials already. These are tutorials that are from the internet. Currently, they're custom entity types because, again, I went kind of crazy with those on the last build. So this time they're going to be regular content types. And for the most part, I don't have any representation of, they're only ever seen as a teaser on the DrupalTutor site. They link out. I don't even know if I'm going to do that in the future. I do use the DrupalTutor system to feed into a thing called Social Bee that allows me to like tweet out and push those links to LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. So I would probably still like to, and I would like to continue doing that. So at the very least, I'm going to use this to store the store the links. Whether or not I display them somewhere, we can decide later. Okay, so here I need title, related projects, URL, and thumbnail. Thumbnail, I actually wrote some code that automatically pulls the thumbnail. So you know how when you post something on social media, it usually makes like a little card and it pulls the open groups image. So I wrote some code that does that same thing, that goes out, looks at the HTML and tries to figure out what that is, and pulls it in and downloads it automatically. So at some point we will implement that so that I don't have to add those thumbnails myself to when I post them up there, post these on the site. Okay, tutorial title is good. Don't need that. We don't need promoted to the front page. We don't need menu settings. Now, rabbit hole, page redirect. Can I do tokens here? Yeah, this is good. So maybe I can use, so I actually have some custom code currently that redirects. So like if you ever were to try to click on the tutorial link, like tutorial.100 or something, if you typed it in, it automatically redirects you to the place on the internet wherever it's supposed to go. But it looks like we could use tokens for this. So, but I can't do it yet because I need to add the URL. Oh, maybe, no, it's just field URL and I already used that. So maybe I can just do like node field URL. And have it tell it that I want to redirect. Maybe. Nope, doesn't like that token. Is there a token browser on here? Oh, wait, no, I created the URL was on taxonomy terms. So I need to, okay, this will work, but not yet. I got to create the URL field first. So let's just set it to page not found for now, and then I'll come back. Okay, that's weird. I got to take this out and then do this. Okay. So there's no body field for these because, again, there's nothing other than the URL and the title. There's really nothing on my site about these. But I don't have a field URL in here because I created that for taxonomy terms, and that so you can't reuse that. So I need a link. Field URL. This will be required. I think I'm going to say this should be external links only because I need it to be an external, even if I had something that was on my own site, I would need to be an external link because with this redirect, I think. So no link text. Okay. Let's see. Thumbnail. Again, I think the thumbnail was on the other. Yeah, that was on taxonomy term. So let's add an image thumbnail field. And there'd only ever be one. And we'll say like tutorial thumbnails is the file directory. And then I need a entity reference to a taxonomy term for related projects. And this is where I will tag like this tutorial is about paragraphs or whatever it's about. So that needs to be the project vocabulary. And that's definitely one area that I want to work on, the either maybe the entity browser for the form field, because right now I have a problem. Like if I want to tag something to paragraphs, there's actually like paragraphs, other module, other module for paragraphs. There's like a million modules that have the word paragraphs in them. And so the regular autocomplete that's built into Drupal only shows like 10 items. So it's sometimes the thing I'm looking for doesn't show up. So it'll be nice to have the more fully featured like entity browser where there can be paginated results or things like that. But we'll get to that later. Okay, so migration ID. I just want to get these all in here so we have the data model set. I need to add migration ID. Okay, so we only have one more content type to do here. It is webinar. This is another one that currently is a custom content type right now. And I'm switching it to node type because I think it'll be fine, especially with Rabbit Hole. These shouldn't be seen publicly for the most part, but these are basically the thing I was talking about, that the wrapper for linking to those Zoom meetings. Okay, the question just came. Is it possible to get a sample template of the Excel spreadsheet? Yeah, I'll figure out some way to. I'll strip one of these down to just an empty template, and I'll in the next email that I send out, I'll put a link to where you can download it in the next email. All right, so. Okay, so this, yeah, so a webinar has, the title is actually, I don't think it's necessary. And in fact, maybe we can figure out how to avoid it. We can do like entity auto title module or something, because like it's not really needed. Okay, so start date, that's when to start date and time. The duration, so Zoom doesn't allow you to set, like if you use their API, it doesn't allow you to set a start and end date. It wants a start time and a number of minutes or a number of seconds or something time. So so we can use the duration field to say 1 hour, because that's what they all are. So that's what field duration will be. The webinar URL gets filled in by the custom code after it does that. Webinar type. Yeah, so this is for potentially if I ever switch away from Zoom to something else, this will just designate that it's a Zoom meeting. So there probably will only be one choice for that. Meeting type we talked about for the taxonomy term. It allows me to segment different webinars to different groups. Course sessions, this allows me to assign a webinar to a particular course session. I won't be able to do that one today because we don't have course session entities. That's an alternative to the meeting types designation. They both do the same thing. I have some custom code that links if you match the meeting type or if your course session is set. And then content is the video, because that gets uploaded afterwards to the site, and notes, which I put up there. So, yep, let's just go through these. So, webinar. I think actually these are not ever seen on their own full page view. So I think I'm okay actually rabbit holing these, because they get seen actually sort of in a wrapper inside of your course information instead of a particular session. Okay, so I need the start date. Date and time. This is required. And I don't think I installed interval field yet. No. So we need to install interval field. This is a field type that stores some time interval. I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. Composer require. Actually, I can't remember if it's interval or interval field. Okay, so it's called interval field, but the machine name is interval. That's probably why I was confused about it. Okay. And then we'll enable that. If I come over here, now I should be able to add an interval. I think I called it duration. Yeah. All right, so this is also required. I'm going to set the default to 1 hour for this because that's what most of them are. I thought there was actually a way you could tell it. I guess not. For some reason, I thought you could limit which of these things show up because, like, I don't know a lot of people who work in fortnights, but like it's on here as a possible option. It always seems kind of like weird. You probably should have an option to see which ones you. Oh, maybe it's on form display. That's where it is. Let's see. I think you hide it here. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. There is a way. Okay. So like we really only want like hours, minutes, probably. Webinars probably should never be any longer than 24 hours or shorter than a minute. So, okay. So that's duration. We need to field URL. Oops. And this is not required because normally I actually don't have these. I save the node and then my custom code goes out and creates them. Create in Zoom and downloads the URL. Webinar type. This is supposed to be a list text, right? Yeah. Because theoretically, maybe I would switch to GoToMeeting at some point, and then I would want the ones that are Zoom to know they should use Zoom, and the ones that are GoToWebinar to use GoToWebinar's API or whatever. But that's the idea about it. But so webinar type is that the okay, and there's only going to be one, which is Zoom meeting. And that can be the default since it's, it needs to be required actually. And then when I write the custom code that checks for Zoom, that does the Zoom API, we will just confirm that this is supposed to be a Zoom meeting. And then before doing that API thing. All right, the meeting types is an entity reference to the taxonomy term. And actually, it can be more than one, potentially. Oh, whoops, I chose the wrong one. Hold on. I did a dynamic entity reference instead of just a regular entity reference. Reference to a taxonomy term. Okay, can be more than one. And it comes from meeting type vocabulary. It doesn't have to be a required field because it is also going to be possible to assign a webinar directly to a session, a course session, in which case you don't need, so actually this is wrong. Should say no. Actually, both of these should say no because you do one or the other of these two. Okay, field content. Oh yeah, this is the same like my lessons. I think I already have this. This is where the video will end up going. It's a dynamic entity reference. Again, these are probably likely to just be videos. But I suppose there could be something else. They're not required because you won't have one until after the webinar is over. And notes. This will be a formatted long text. Sometimes I put links, or if somebody asked a question, I might put something in there. But it's not required. All right, and again, I think the public and the meta tags, I think I can leave those out. I don't actually think I'm going to use those here. So let's just add the migration ID. Okay, so let me just do a quick skim through here. So, okay, course bundle, course session, course, these are all custom entity types. We'll talk about those in the future. Course registration, those are all custom sort of building the LMS. Schedule, this is something we'll talk about. I talked a little bit about lesson schedule. There's also currently something called a drip schedule, which is if you take my courses, you get an email every week. Those are also kind of work similar to the lesson scheduling, where I set a start and end interval, and it's like relative to the start time of this session, 7 days after, but not more than 10 days after, send this email to everybody. And the reason there's some gap there is sometimes someone will come in late, like they'll join the class late, and so then they can get the email. So we'll talk about those schedules later. Hosting is a custom content type for storing hosting your dev stack configuration information for a particular user in the particular registration. Progress stores progress, like for the little progress bars, like you've watched 90% of this course. That gets tracked in this custom entity type, which I am going to keep custom. So media, we've got an image. Okay, remote video. This is one we didn't do. So let's just do that because we did all the other media types. So let's set that up. And this works with OEmbed providers automatically. Out of the box, it supports YouTube and Vimeo. Vimeo is the only one that I actually, I can use the YouTube ones, and maybe I would, maybe I would use YouTube ones because maybe I'll bring these live sessions, post them on the site, because it probably makes sense to go to the site rather than sending people to YouTube. So we'll at least do YouTube. There is, if you want to add more, there is this other module you can install. Embed providers. Yeah, if you install this module, then you can add, and let's open this up. You can add like any of, I don't know if I'm seeing that whole page, but it looks like there is a lot more, but well, I guess it's just cut off in the screenshot, but there's a whole bunch of them, and you can check the other ones that you want to support on your site. And it's got, I don't know, 100 or more possible ones built in there. Okay, so, but we don't need that. YouTube and Vimeo is enough. And I don't have other fields to store this stuff in. So this stuff is, you would download this. I mean, maybe the name, resource title could become the name. That's probably the only one that makes sense. So if I have a Vimeo video and it has a certain name by default, that would become the name of the media item. If we had other metadata that mattered, I mean, like the author and all this stuff, I don't store the provider name or any of that. If these mapped to fields on this media type, then we could match these up too, but I don't have any of that. And I'm not going to rabbit hole these. There might be cases where although I got to think about that because I don't want people to watch the lesson video. So maybe I will rabbit hole these because I don't want people to watch a lesson video like just by typing in like media/123 or something. So, all right, was there anything? What else did I have here? Okay, there was some more stuff. Let's see what I had. Okay, the remote video URL, the duration, the thumbnail. So I actually am not sure. I may be able to. So currently the lesson videos are stored as nodes, And I have some, and so I have custom fields that store this, again, because the media stuff wasn't available in Drupal 8 when I first launched it. So I don't know. I think thumbnail and duration are probably built into this now. So I'm going to hold off making new ones until I can really test it out. Transcript, I think, is not built into it. So I do have like automatic generated transcripts for all the videos. Well, actually, for the lesson videos, I go through and edit them and make sure they're correct. But then that's like a SRT file that's gets downloaded and put on the site. And then I have a little thing where you can browse the transcript under the lesson video if you want. It's nice because you can kind of like, it's a custom thing I built where you can also, like, if you scroll through and you see something you want to hear, you can click the text and it like jumps you right to that spot in the video. So we do need a, what did I choose for that? Just a file. I mean, I suppose it could be a media, but not, I mean, I think just a regular file is fine because it's always going to be just a simple file. And I don't know if I want those all in the media library. They're not really useful that way. Just field transcript. Actually, these should probably be in private files, but I don't have private files set up. So we might come back and look at that, but I don't want to do it right now. These are going to be either VTT files or SRT files. Those are two web caption formats. All right, and then I had a purpose. I was going to put purpose on all of the media types. Did I already create that? Oh, no, I didn't create. Oh, I created the taxonomy type, but I didn't create the field. So let's so field purpose. Maybe it could be unlimited. Could be more than one purpose to something. And I don't think, well, maybe these are going to be public. I don't think I need the field as public. I think I can use Rabbit Hole for that because Rabbit Hole allows you to change it on one video. You can say like this is allowed to be seen, this one. So I could just do that. But maybe meta tags is useful because if I do make them public, then I would want to have meta tags. So let's add a meta tags field on these. Meta tags won't be useful for the ones that are just course videos or whatever, but maybe for these live stream videos. And migration ID. Okay, that takes care of that. I realized I kind of skipped over image because I think image already existed. Oh no, I didn't create image yet. Oh no, I just skipped it. Okay, so we need to create image. This will be an image media source. I mean, by default, the name can be like the file name. That's fine as a default. Rabbit hole. These should probably be page not found unless they're specifically allowed. And then I do want to put that purpose field in the, I have migration ID. I don't think I'll put it on there. I'm not sure if I have anything to migrate into this. Okay, so we can just reuse these. Purpose, again, this would be like for customer logos or something. We could flag them that way. And the migration ID. Okay. All right, and then we got the paragraph types. I'm not going to go into those today because it's already 4:30, so I think we'll probably wrap it up for here. In order to wrap this up, we should capture what we've done. We've created a lot of entity types or content types and media types. So there's going to be a lot of configuration. And so, yeah, Joseph's last week, we talked about how granular should you be. I'm sure he's going to hate this, that I'm going to just put this all in one big commit with all the changes that we made. So I'll run drush CEX, and you can see it's going to spit out like everything that we did here, which is quite a lot of configuration. And also we installed some modules, so we have like some things here, and Composer changed as well. So I'll say set up content types. Oh, we also did vocabularies, taxonomy vocabularies. So, oh, did I not forget to add? Okay. And we can go ahead and push that because I did create a remote repository since the last time to store it in. So I have it backed up in the on GitLab. And yeah, so, okay. So we'll end it there for today. I think next week, I'm not entirely sure, but we might start doing some migration stuff. I'd like to get at least some example migrations for some of those in here, like the meeting types or the projects. I'd like to get a few of those set up. So I think maybe we'll do just a little bit of migration next week. And yeah, so if you haven't signed up for the emails, go to DrupalTutor.com/live and you can put in your email address and you'll get an email each week with what I'm going to do. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I will do another one of these next Wednesday.